Alright fellas, it's been a little while since I did a video, so I figured I'd post one up on batteries. Batteries, testers, cleaners, what I do on the car lot. I'm no you know, I'm no trained professional, but everything I do here works 100% of the time. This will tell you if you got to go to a bad battery, if you're wasting your time, whatever it is. So you're looking at this max ever start here. First thing I do is I look at it. Okay, this just came out of an '06 Town and Country. The car wouldn't start. Okay, if I jump start it, 10 minutes later the car would start. So there's an iffy battery here. First thing I look at is it's 8 of 15. Well, it's 2020 and I'm in Florida. 5 years is way more than the life of a battery in Florida. I don't really give a shit about most of the stuff up here until I'm testing it. Cold cranking amps, that kind of stuff. Or group number, 34N. I don't care about that till I need to replace it. But what I'll normally do is, you'll see I got an assortment of stuff. I'll take it out of the car and I'll pop it up on a bench and I hit it with this battery protector. I'm sorry, battery cleaner right here. It'll foam up and it gets all the acid off. And yeah, you can do baking soda and water, but I don't have to store any of it, mix any of it, or anything like that. So with that said, I hit that, I clean the terminals. All right. So you can see it's relatively clean, the terminals. I mean, they're not, you can't eat off them or anything. A lot of times I'll come over and I'll just take one of my cheapo battery terminal tools and just give it a quick, it's got the brush inside, and give it a quick little rundown here. Just for testing purposes. Okay, so that's good enough. Now, next thing you'll notice is these are my go-to tools. This is a Centec from Harbor Freight, as is this Chicago Electric. So this is a resistive load tester for 100 amps. What that means is it's got a coil in there, and that coil acts like a big resistor, like your toaster oven, and heats up. Well, when it heats up, it's drawing current. It's like basically a direct short across a coil. So it heats up, and as it draws current, it pulls more and more current from the battery. And then it's got a scale here that tells you, whether the battery is weak, bad, no good. And it tells you for 6 and 12 volts. And it also tells you 12-volt alternator. Right there, which is in the OK mark. So this charging system is no good, overcharging, or okay. It's dead fucking accurate. Okay, if it's not charging, it's your alternator, and this is a $10 meter. So, and then you got your green scale over here, which tells you your cold cranking amps at 12 volts. It's got a little switch here that connects a positive and negative cable and connects it through the resistive load. All right, so we're not taking electronics here. Basically, it's a meter to measure, to load test the battery. Same thing here, except it's a carbon pile that's adjustable. Carbon pile is more accurate because the load is more consistent. It's a little bit bigger and bulkier, so believe it or not, this tends to be my go-to meter. This is my bench meter. And sometimes I test them both ways. So with that said, it comes off the vehicle. First thing I'm going to do is, even sometimes before it's off the vehicle, I'll want to hook this up to the battery. So I'm just gonna put you down for a second, and don't go away, guys. It's tough to do one-handed, so you don't have a choice. Okay, so this came straight out of the car, and clearly you can see it's 10 volts. There's all kinds of people going to tell you all kinds of things about batteries. Again, all my battery experiences come from real life. You're going to want 12.6 to 13 volts to see a decent battery. They say 12.6 whatever is you've got a static full charge on the battery. I've done this for years. I've done forklift batteries. I've done hand truck, lift pallet jack batteries. When I worked at the local newspaper, I probably had 40 batteries. I had multiple battery chargers, ports and all. And I'm telling you, this cheap meter here got me through 99% of the time. So we can already see without even connecting it. So this little cheapie acts as a meter. We've got a fluke over here, which is a meter, and we've got a snap-on over here, which is a Blue Point, which is another meter. They're all the same thing. Why do 60 things when it's all built into one? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attempt to show you while I flick this switch here. The normal is 10 seconds, and I just count, Mississippi's or whatever. But you'll notice right away that as soon as I flick the switch, we drop off past bad. So the battery drops down immediately to 7 volts. I could pretty much guarantee at this point it's going to be a dead battery, but, and I always say but, I give it a little bit of faith. So what I'll do now at this point is I'll disconnect my load test and I'll connect my battery charger to the battery. I've got a little, sorry, it's a mess. I sold my car dealership, and my wife and I sold our dealership, and I'm back at home right now until I buy another car lot. Anyway, I have 2 Schumachers. I got a big one and a little one. I tend to use this one just because it's just easier. So what I do is I'll put the Schumacher on, polarity, don't forget, positive to positive, negative to negative. And generally speaking on the Schumacher, I'll put it on for 2 amps. So I'm going to show you the Schumacher gauge, because this gauge does work. But we're off right now. When I flick this switch to the 2 amp position, the gauge may or may not jump. And we'll take a peek. There it goes. You see it move towards the 10. It may move up more and it may not. Okay. What does that mean? Well, to any old schmazoo, it doesn't mean anything. To me, it means that the charger turned on and it's putting out an output. That doesn't really mean shit in the real world. And that's where the fluke comes in. Okay? I don't recommend anybody go out and buy one of these. This probably a lot cheaper now, but it's a 337, and it does frequency, AC and DC current. It does resistance, AC and DC voltage. It has lead hookups. I use it as a quick clamp most of the time. I've got a bench meter, and then sometimes I'll bring this out. I have another pack of fluke, all the leads, pretty much, again, every lead known to man. So, some basic electronic theory. DC voltage flows from negative to positive, okay? What's that mean to you? It means that when I take a meter like this, or a digital meter, and I put the positive, the red terminal on the negative, and the black terminal on the positive, I'll see a negative voltage. Let's say the battery was 12 volts. I'd see negative 12 volts. But if I put the black lead on the black and the red lead on the red, I'd see just 12 volts without a negative symbol. Works the same with the amp meter. So I use the fluke to confirm what my Schumachers are doing, to make sure that the battery's taking a charge and I'm not wasting my time. So what I'll do is I'll flip it on till I get to DC amps, which that's the sign for DC symbol right there. That's AC, sine wave. And then I look at my thing and you can see it's bumping around there. I think it's pretty zeroed. Otherwise, there's a zero function here, and there's a light here, backlight, so we can all see it. So if that theory is correct, like I just told you, current flows from negative to positive. Well, this was designed to be read in the correct position like this. And current should be flowing this direction. So if I put my clamp meter on here in this direction, I should see an amperage, but with no negative symbol. And you can see it's slowly climbing up. So this battery is taking just shy of an amp. in its condition, it should be taking 2 to 5 amps. So I can already tell you that the battery is going to be dead, but for shits and giggles, I'm going to go through the procedure here. Might take 2 or 3 videos and join them together, put them on YouTube. But anyway, you can clearly see that it's less than an amp. If it was 1.0, it would be an amp, okay? A 1 DC amp, okay? So now I'm going to move my cable and show you what I meant before. If I move it to the red line, I immediately jump out a negative. It's the same amperage. So just understand it's a polarity thing. You can actually see which direction current is flowing through a car or a DC circuit if you choose to. And sometimes that's helpful when you're troubleshooting. It's beyond the scope of this video, that's for sure. But I've been doing this so long that any little trick, especially, I'm an industrial machine builder, a UL panel builder, and I worked at the newspaper locally here for 7 years. I'm the guy that fixes the press at 2 a.m. when it breaks, or I'm the guy that fixes the mailroom packing equipment to get the newspaper out. So you really don't have time to dick around when you're working with AC drives, DC drives. There's 50 people staring at you, and the company's paying them all money. So with that said, you know, you got to get this shit fixed and fixed in a jiffy. So at this point, I'm just going to leave it on charge. I'm going to end the video now, knowing that what I know over all my years, 0.9 amps or 0.8 amps, it should be drawing way more than that based on that meter hookup. Okay? And, you know, again, that's just a cheap-ass meter. Been going to it for 10 years. It never, ever lies. It tells the truth. I highly recommend don't spend any money on snap-ons or any of that shit. You don't need it. If you want it, get it. If you don't, don't. But a meter like this, I needed it. I work on a 50 horsepower motor with a DC drive. They don't make anymore. And I needed the Hertz. It was the only meter on the entire planet at the time that did it. But unless I used some old school analog shit, but I wanted digital. So anyway, I'm going to end the video, and I'm going to leave this thing sit on here a couple hours. Then we'll come back and see where we went. We know we started out, we were at 10 volts, and we dropped below 8 when we hit the button. So when we come back, we'll utilize the same meter. My goal later would be to try and show you a battery that came back to life. But at this point, I'm just going to join all these together and at least give you a decent tutorial about, hey, how do I know my battery's dead? And the guy at, AutoZone's, he's a dick, and he could be lying, just trying to sell me an alternator or battery. Like I said, I walk out to your car. I put this on your battery cables while your car is on. It's in the OK over here on the charging system, OK? If it's in that little green box, your alternator's working, period. So, the discussion with me ends there, goodbye. Your alternator's working. And as a car dealer, that's important, because an alternator's a lot more than a battery. All right, guys, I'll be back in a little while. We'll see where we're at with this one and see if it's going in the ship pile or the core pile or the back into the vehicle. All right, guys. So flash ahead a couple hours. It's dark out now. It's 8 o'clock. It's been charging probably close to 10 hours, 8-10 hours. What I'd like is to put the meter back on the clamp, and you can tell that, lo and behold, we're still getting 1.92 amps. So the battery's been taking amperage since 8 hours. Generally speaking, a trickle, 2 amps overnight should charge this thing, a dead battery back up. So what I'd like to do now is take the meter off, and we'll check it again with the clamp. So what I normally do is I'll just pop these over here, and we'll pop the load tester back on once again. Hold on one second, and I'll hook you back up. All right, we're back. Load tester is hooked back up, and you can tell after however many hours it's been, we're at 11, which is, I think that's where we started. So right off the bat, I say we gain nothing, which means we have at least 2 dead cells in this battery. I'll go ahead and hit the load, and you'll see it drop back off. Ready? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. And you can see it's dropped off to below 9 amps in the bad section. Okay? So, in my earlier estimation, I already determined it would be a bad battery. And I am, I'll stand by that. This is a bad battery, good core. What I'll go ahead and do is I'll show you guys the carbon pile tester so that you can, sorry about that, so that you can see the difference between the two. Now give me a minute and I'll hook that back up for you. Back again with the fancier of the Harbor Freight. This is the carbon pile. A little more stable and a little bit more professional, I guess would be the word. Carbon pile's a better, more stable load to put onto a battery to test it. So a couple of things I'm going to show you is, first and foremost, beautiful because the leads are a little longer and you don't have to, fumble fuck around with that stupid little, that works great though for, going out to a car where you don't have these giant leads. This is perfect for bench testing. 2 meters on here, DC amperage and DC voltage. You can clearly see on the DC voltage we're in the green, okay, but we are low in the green, just above 10 and a half volts, okay. So how this load tester works is you have a variable dial here and you dial out your amperage. You dial out on these 50% of your CCA, which is your cold cranking amps. So if we look at the battery, we can see that it is 800 CCA, 1,000 continuous too. So we're going to use the 800 number, and we're going to dial this up right here until our CCA, our cold cranking amps, battery cold cranking amps, is 400. Okay, so let's turn this, and as we turn it, you'll see the pot will start to move and the dial will move. When I get to around 200, I don't get anything. But if you come over here, we've already dropped this just above 6 volts, and we're dropping fast, as you can see. So it won't even pull up to the half of the CCA, which is the bottom scale, and you can clearly see that this is a fail. So this one has a beep, an audible beep at around 10 seconds that tells you, okay, enough time. I backed it off so you can see we're back down to 0 here, and our amperage, our voltage rather, has climbed back up, but clearly under load meaning you put the key in, you go to start the car, drops down to 6 volts. You're not going to start a lawnmower. So this battery is now going to go into a pile of them that I have 2 or 3. I keep spare cores, so whenever I order a battery, I have the core ready. Whenever you're trading in a battery somewhere, a lot of people don't realize you don't have to have the same core. You go to O'Reilly's, you buy a group, whatever, group 34, group 26. You can give them any core. They don't care. They need a core as an exchange. That's it. They don't care that the core came out of the same car or not. I do it every day, and I always keep a stack of dead ones outside. Once in a blue moon, some bum will steal them and trade them in for $5 or whatever they get a piece. Really don't care. But anyway, I'll clip all these together and put them as one video. And what I want to do before I finish the video is I want to add one portion on of a load test of a known good battery. So I'll do that right towards the end, and I'll do it with this carbon pile so you get an idea of what this thing does. And you notice that all 3 meters or 4 meters will do the same thing. The beauty of the Fluke is it'll do it'll do inline amperage, so you can clamp it onto a cable. They'll both do, all four of them will tell you the voltage of a battery, the static voltage. So just give me a few and I'll be back and we'll load test a good battery and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay guys, I have a 2011 Ultima and this is the battery from it. I have my go-to cheapie Centec on here, and this battery is fresh from the car. Okay, now the Centec, you can notice, is reading just under 12. It's actually reading in the green, which is good, but just under 12. We all know a fully charged battery should be just above 12, 12.6, 13, somewhere in that area. I like to say 12.6, 12.5 amps is fine. So this is fresh on the battery. I haven't charged the battery at all, and I'm going to hit it with this load tester. And 1, 2, wow, that dropped right off into bad. So we're below 8, we're at 7. So this is kind of worse than the other battery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it off of here and I'm going to put it on the 2 amp charge overnight. Alright, and tomorrow when I come back we'll give it the carbon pile test. Once again, looking at what I look at here, I doubt this will make it. I'm probably going to end up being another bad battery. I really did want to show you a good one, but I don't know if I have one around here. So hold on, I'll see if I can find one. Alright guys, good news. I got my Duralast, my shop battery here. I use this to run window regulators or whatever. Test 12 volts crap around here, lighting, whatever. It's 660 cold cranking amps. You can see I've got the Chicago carbon pile on it. You can see its starting voltage is just above 12, well, 12.5, which is Rob's good battery. 12.5 volts, 12.6 volts is a good battery. So what we're going to do, since we're 660 cold cranking amps, we're going to turn the dial until the lower scale at least gets to the middle between 2 and 4. So that would be 300 amps on the battery that we're putting as a load. I might try and go a little higher if it will, and then we'll see what the battery does. And we're going to hold it for 10 seconds. Alright, so here we go. And I'm bringing it up. And there's 400 amps. There's half a, and there you go. The battery is still in the green. Still hard to focus, but you're still at 11. You're still at 11 volts and in the OK zone. And this battery is under load of 400 amps right now. I'm backing it off to 0, and it came back up to 12. A little over 12. What I just did was basically sorry about that. There it is. Took the static charge off the battery. Static charge is an intrinsic charge where you're charging a battery, you finish, you take it off a charger, and it has some ghost bullshit voltage. That's why they always tell you run the headlights for a few seconds before you do any battery testing. Here's a perfect example. You just put a 400 amp load on it, you clean that static charge off the battery, and now you're getting a real voltage. Alright? What we've learned here is that now the Duralast has passed the load test. This is a known good battery. And I'll run this battery until it goes down to around 10 volts, and then I'll charge it back up. And I'll do that until, I think I'm okay. Again, this is just used occasionally. I bring it between my garage and my shed. But I'm glad you got to see the carbon pile on a good battery. The resistive one, the cheaper one over here, does the same thing. When you hit the button, you're only putting 100 amps maximum in there. So, with that said, you're not really doing a whole lot. But that's it, guys. We're pretty much there, and appreciate you guys watching. And any questions, just put them down below, and I'll answer if I can. Thanks.